Today is Friday, the 26th of September, 2008. We're at the New York State Military Museum in Saratoga Springs, New York, and we are doing a telephone interview with Mr. Joseph Stark. Mr. Stark, for the record, would you please state your full name and date, place of birth, please?
Joseph William Stark. Today is September 25th, 2008, and I was born in New York City in 1932.
Okay, sir. Did you attend school there?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you graduate from high school?
Yes, I did.
And what year did you graduate?
1947, I believe.
Okay. And let me just go back to the World War II years. Do you remember what it was like with the rationing and that, and the war going on? You were probably in elementary school at that point.
Yes. Okay, there was no sugar. There was very little gas, although we didn't have an automobile.
Mm-hmm.
There were no nylon stockings. I remember scrap piles, people bringing scrap and piling them up in the street for the war effort, and then they would probably melt that down and make ammunition or whatever they made out of it, tanks and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Times were tough. I come from a family of 6 children. I'm the oldest of 5 boys. Incidentally, all 5 brothers, all 5 of us were in the military, 2 in the Navy, 1 in the Air Force, and 2 in the Army at different times.
Okay. And you went in 1952?
1952 to 56.
Okay. Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted.
Okay. And why did you pick the Navy?
I like the sea. I just always liked the water. I'm an avid fisherman, although I don't get that much time anymore. But I did prefer swimming rather than digging a hole someplace so far.
Okay. And where did you go for your basic training?
Bainbridge, Maryland. I think they had reinstituted it. It was closed after World War II. I think they reinstituted it for the Korean situation. Bainbridge, Maryland.
Okay. And how long was that basic training?
16 weeks, 4 months.
Okay. And was that your first time away from home?
Yes, basically, yes.
Okay.
Although I did stay some months at a time for the summer at my cousin's place in Colchester, Connecticut, and also over in Nanuet, New York at my aunt's place for the summer.
Okay. And once you completed your basic training, where did you go from there?
We went to Newport, Rhode Island, which was at that time a destroyer base, and I was assigned to the USS Bennett. It was a DDR at the time, 807.
Okay, and what does DDR stand for?
DDR stands for Destroyer Radar. They had removed the torpedo tubes and made it a radar picket, which our duty was to stay outside the fleet, maybe 15, 20 miles, and detect any enemy coming before they attack the fleet.
Okay. And did you receive, like, on-the-job training on the ship for...
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what position did they assign you?
I became a
machinist?
Engine was the machinery, they call that, I forget.
I see you have written down machinist mate first class?
Yeah, that was when I got discharged, yes. But the original, as opposed to seaman, fireman. I was fireman apprentice.
Okay.
Which would then, you would sign either the boiler room or the engine room.
Okay. And what kind of work did they have you doing?
I was just basically running an evaporator. We made the fresh water from salt water, and we did that by means of an evaporator.
Okay.
That's my first duty.
Okay. And at one point you went to Korea?
No, actually, my brother did, but I was the Mediterranean.
Okay.
I'm the Mediterranean. Sixth Fleet was the Mediterranean.
Okay. Do you want to describe some of your cruises?
Well, they were very informative. They were 6 months long, and then we came back to the States for 6 months. That was rotation then. Now I understand it's a little longer. We did go to, after we went to the shipyard, Boston, for refurbishing And then we went to Cuba, Guantanamo, Cuba, for they call it a shakedown cruise. Run all the loose bolts and nuts till we see how the ship ran. That was a 2 months adventure. And then we had either gone down to South America, or we were up at the Arctic Circle for a while, various places, but mostly along the Mediterranean.
Okay.
See.
And were you with other ships, or you?
Oh yes, we were the fleet. It was the Sixth Fleet. Basically, we were assigned to a carrier task force, is what they were called, and our job was to protect the outer perimeter of the carrier. There were cruisers, there were battleships at that time, and we were the small ones.
Okay. Now you were only about 19 or
18
so?
years old, yes.
Okay. And so I guess you probably got to see a lot of ports and a lot of different countries that you wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Exactly. That was a free tour paid for by the government.
Okay. Any interesting stories or incidents
well,
that you can recall?
There was a place in Turkey. We were playing basketball. They used to let us go ashore. We played basketball with some of the Turks there, and of course they tried to swipe our equipment. There was another time in Genoa. I was, I think, third class petty officer, which then you would go on shore patrol. You would be assigned to shore patrol when you were a petty officer or higher. And I remember there was a lot of communism there at the time. And when we were riding in our Jeep to go to our duty post, there was some people throwing rocks at us.
Oh, really?
There were also signs in paint, U.S. go home, no bomba, no bombs. You know, it was just a lot of anti-American sentiment at the time.
So that was part of the Cold War.
That was exactly.
Okay. All right. Any other stories? Any humorous incidents?
Nothing. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't funny. It was just one P and A, you know. I just did my time. I just don't recall a whole lot of. You know what? Actually, remember is the good times we had, not so much the bad times. The general quarters and so forth, and playing war, make believe we were being attacked, that kind of stuff. Anti-submarine. Also, our duty was anti-submarine. Our duty was to search out a submarine and try to get it. And it was different various. Our job also was any planes that had fallen off the carrier. Our job was then to pick up the planes. It was different duties at Tin Can, they called them at the time.
Okay.
That's what we did.
Okay. Did you actually see any aircraft recovered?
Oh yeah. Well, Cuba, when we did the Guantanamo 2-month thing, they had pilots. They were training. They flew flying from Florida. Their duty was then to land on the carrier. Some of them didn't make it, and they went into the ocean, into the Caribbean, and our job was then to pick them up. At which time, the carrier then would reward us with ice cream. That was the thing at the time.
How was the food aboard ship?
Food was basically good. It was better than I was getting home, actually. We had, like I say, it was 6 kids and a mother. There was 8 people eating from my father's paycheck, so we were kind of a lot of spaghetti at the time. But basically it was a balanced diet, and then it was good.
Okay.
Had no problem.
Okay. And what were your living quarters like?
They were a little tight. They were a little aluminum framed with a canvas strapped to it, and a thin mattress and a cover, of course. And there were 3 high. And below the bottom bunk was 3 lockers, they call them foot lockers, and they were like probably 3 by 3, I guess, maybe a foot high, and you kept all of everything we owned in those lockers. Of course, being in an engine room, or some of the boiler room people, there were places in the engine room that we could store stuff.
Okay. Any problems with seasickness or anything?
I never got seasickness.
Okay. And let me ask you this, since you spent a lot of time down in the engine room and boiler room, you were probably exposed to asbestos?
I was.
Any problems with that at all?
I have an asbestos problem, but related to my job after I left the Navy.
Okay. All right. And I see that you were discharged in 1956.
Yes.
Were you asked to re-enlist at all, or?
Of course, first class, they were after me. I had them I had them convinced I was staying, but I was already married. Got married my last year.
Oh, I see.
And I was just had them convinced I was shipping over, just to make them not pick on me, because if you tell them you're leaving, and of course at the end of your, they wouldn't treat you very well.
Yeah. Okay. And whereabouts were you discharged?
In Newport, Rhode Island.
Okay. And when you got out, did you make use of the GI Bill at all?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Did you stay in contact with anyone you served with?
Oh yes, matter of fact, 2 weeks ago we just came. I go to a ship reunion every year. I've been going since 1992 when I learned about it.
Okay.
I think they've been having it since 1965, the older fellas. And we just came back from Savannah, Georgia 2 weeks ago.
Okay. All right. And do you know if the ship still exists?
No, the ship was decommissioned. I think it's made out of razor blades, I make a joke. And Bremerton, Washington State, they just decommissioned, because it's old. It was a steam ship. Now they have diesel, they have nuclear. It was an old steam.
Okay.
Oh, 1945 they built it.
Oh, okay.
Up in Bath, Maine.
All right. Okay, I think that pretty much covers it, unless there's anything you would like to add? Anything you can think of?
One thing we had one time, we had a hole in the hull somehow, and we were up around Newfoundland. It was really cold, and so we pulled into a town called Cheshire, I think, Newfoundland, and then we had to go into like a sort of a dry dock, and they had to repair the hole in the ship. But that was kind of like fun, So we had, but it was snowing when we got there, and when we left 3 weeks later, it was still snowing. So
oh, boy.
A good place to visit.
All right. Okay, well, thank you very much for your interview.
Okay.
And I'm going to stop the recorder, and I'll talk to you
Okay.
offline here.